Welcome back to the Carrie Fitz Real Estate Podcast. I'm Carrie Fitz, and today I am joined by someone who has helped bring so much culture and music to our community. This is Paul Houghtaling with the University of Alabama. He's the director of the University of Alabama Opera. And I am so happy that you're here today. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
And before we get into the opera, I have to ask you one question I think everyone's wondering. I know that you're from New York City. So how in the world, and people ask me this all the time, did you end up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama?
Well, I'm actually from upstate New York, and then I did a decade in Boston, and then 20 years in Manhattan.
Okay, I knew about the Manhattan.
18 years in Manhattan.
Where in upstate New York?
Troy, near Albany.
Oh, very
Yeah,
good. Okay.
My very small family is still there.
Good.
My mom and dad were born in Troy and Albany, so that's my native neck of the woods. Again, a decade in Boston, almost 20 years in Manhattan. But I was working on a doctorate. I was singing professionally for a long time. I realized I kind of want to teach. I want that stability. Plus, I love teaching. Finishing the doctorate, did a national job search. Alabama called, and I said, okay. So I moved, and I bought my first car and my first home as an adult in 2007 when I arrived here in Tuscaloosa.
Had you ever seen Tuscaloosa before? Did you come down for an
I did. It was in February of 2007. It was beautiful weather, partly what sold me. So yeah, I did see it before I moved.
Yeah, see, I didn't.
Oh.
I came down in November, and it was the first time I had ever seen it.
Well, wow.
So I took a leap of faith, and I was happy I did.
Great.
But I love hearing stories like that because I think everybody assumes everybody in Alabama has always been here.
Right.
So we actually have so many people that move here from all over the country and all over the world with Mercedes and stuff, and they end up falling in love with this community.
Yes.
I've also heard a funny story from you at one of the parties at the opera fundraiser, and it was about you singing for parties and stuff in your family's house, and your mom would say, don't sing that opera stuff.
Oh yes, that's true. Oh, Paul, sing something else, but don't sing opera because nobody really likes it. True story. May she rest in peace. I love my mom, but that is a true story.
That's funny, because that's not true.
That's not true.
That is not true. Yeah. But it is a funny story, and I love how people tease us about when you're growing up about some of the very things that you're known for later in life.
Yes.
So that's hysterical. But now you found a career around that stuff.
Yes.
And something that started out with you just singing because you enjoyed it. So I want to ask you something that's made headlines recently, and that was
yes, Timothy Chalamet, yeah.
Yes, and it opens up a conversation when he said, that nobody cares about opera and ballet anymore. He went on to say that these art forms, they still deserve to be preserved, even if they aren't considered mainstream today. So as someone who's dedicated so much of your life to music and the performing arts, how do you respond to that?
Well, my first reaction was I rolled my eyes and I laughed. And then I just sort of sat back and watched popular culture and the internet do its thing. While the comment was dumb, and I'm sure he wishes that he could retract it now, it's been a few months now, what it did for opera, most opera companies and their PR teams jumped on it. And suddenly shows were selling out. And there were funny memes. Timothy Chalamet, we invite you to our performance, come on. And it really did it brought a lot of attention to ballet and opera and those art forms that supposedly nobody cares about, but indeed they do. And those that were really, really offended and were, getting on diatribes, that wasn't me. I laughed a little, I chuckled, I sat back and watched all the activity happen. So in its own little way, while it was a dumb comment, it was a boon for opera and for ballet because suddenly shows were selling out. And companies that were smart and not taking themselves too seriously knew this was one person out of millions who said something off the cuff. And his mother, ironically, Timothy's mother is a dancer. So I don't think he'll ever make an off-the-cuff remark about classical arts again, the poor guy. But I think it actually ended up doing a lot of good. It brought some attention to opera, albeit through the side door, but attention is attention, and ticket sales are ticket sales, and good press is good press. So that's my thought on Timothy Chalamet.
Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion, of course, but when you're a public figure, you need to kind of zip it sometimes.
Yes.
But it is funny because, I took some advertising classes in college, and I remember that, ring around the collar was so annoying, that Whisk commercial.
Yes.
But they always said, if you remember it, then it's always good. Even bad advertising is good. So that worked out. So
that's right.
Well, I think that's such an interesting perspective because honestly, I wonder if people sometimes assume that opera isn't for them simply because They've never experienced it.
Yes, indeed.
For someone listening who has never attended an opera or even a symphony performance, what would you tell them? What are they missing?
That's a really good question. Story. Symphony and opera are so related, and even if there's no words, there's a story in symphonic music. There's a flow, there's an ebb, there's a give and take, there's drama, there's dramaturgy, there's theatricality in the movements of a symphony as it flows along, much like there is an opera. So opera is just simply, the story is perhaps more in your face, it's right there, it's prescribed, but now we have text up there, we have the translation. It's not difficult to sit back and simply enjoy. If the quality of the singing, if the way we use our voices without amplification, without microphones is off-putting to some, because for some people it's not just the story or the foreign language, it's the way we sing is so foreign to them. They should just take a moment to understand that what we're using is our bodies, our breath, our air compression, that singing is more of a sport. Then it's also a sport and not more, but it's equal sport, equal art. But at the end of the day, or when the curtain comes down, it's all about the story. Have we moved you? Have we reached you? Have we communicated something? Regardless of the colors or the type of singing we're doing, it's about story and human drama, human interaction, and that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because before, when I would go to opera years and years ago, you didn't have the words.
Right.
So I got used to not having the words, and I didn't understand it, but it's not about the words to me. And I'll look at them sometimes here.
Sure.
But really, it's just like symphony, opera, it's the way it makes you feel. It moves you, and you can figure out what the characters are doing without understanding every word.
Yes.
But it really is powerful and moving when you're there. You don't have to understand every word.
That's right. Couldn't agree more.
You know, I mean,
Couldn't
Catholic
agree more.
churches used to always be in Latin.
Latin, sure,
And
of
certainly
course.
nobody understood that, but that didn't keep people out. I mean, they're less attendance now, I think, when they're in English than there was then. But
Yes.
that's a whole other thing. Do you think the opera has changed over the years, or is it more the way we introduce people to it that's changed?
Both. There's more and more new opera now. 50 years ago, we were doing, I think opera was doing the classics, Puccini, Mozart, Verdi, etc. Post the second half of the 20th century, now of course well into the 21st century, we're valuing new music more. Composers are actually making a living. That was really revving up before pandemic. It slowed 5, 6, 7 years ago, and now it's really roaring back. New opera is everywhere. New opera is important. Opera that reflects our current culture, our current issues, our current concerns, current questions. So that's what's changed. But all art forms change. Sports change. Yeah. Everything changes.
That's right.
And so it's changing for the good, changing for the better, changing with the times, and that's really important.
It is, and one thing that I love about Tuscaloosa is that people are often surprised by everything our community has to offer. They know a snippet. Of course, everybody knows we have Alabama football. Okay.
Yes.
And that's great, and it brings a lot of attention and people to Tuscaloosa, but they have no idea about the layers that Tuscaloosa brings. So that we have incredible arts and music and theater performances that make this city special. For a city this size, we really do have a lot to offer. How important do you think organizations like the opera are to a community? Oh,
crucial. And I'm glad you brought that up. For a city of its size, we have a lovely orchestra, and the executive director is a former student of mine, current dear friend, one of my early stars of the opera program, with lots of ballet companies, ballet training, opera through the university, theater through the university and in the community. I just saw a lovely show by Theater Tuscaloosa over the weekend. Yes, exactly. And so there's more culture here, I think, per capita than people would believe. Now, funny, you just mentioned football. I moved down here 20 years ago and had never heard of Alabama football.
I never heard of Paul. Well, I had heard of him.
I'd heard the name.
Know, yeah.
I heard Joe Namath more than I heard.
Too, because he was on the commercials.
Bear Bryant. Then I, came down here and realized half the buildings and half the streets were called Bryant. So there's something special here. And of course, I arrived the very same time Nick Saban did. We actually signed our contracts the same month.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that was exciting. But it is important, and I think that's one of the real gems of Tuscaloosa is that there's so much art here of every kind. We have the amphitheater, which brings in great rock artists and pop artists, and good museums, and theater, and opera, and dance, and ballet, and a lovely symphony, so chamber music, and artists come in and out of this town, and so it really is a hub of arts and we stand on our own proudly. You don't have to go to Birmingham. You can
That's
find
right.
what you want right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
That's right. I know there may be people listening who have always thought that opera isn't my thing. If you could convince someone to give it one chance, what would you tell them before they walk through those opera doors?
Some people aren't going to like this answer. I'm going to say do a touch of homework. Maybe read the Wikipedia article on the opera. Maybe read the synopsis, understand the plot. Maybe listen to a record if it's an opera that has been out there, Puccini or Mozart or Verdi or others. But if there's any available information, any homework you can do, any little bit of prep work you could do before you walk through the doors and take your seat and the orchestra tunes and the curtain goes up, that will help. But if you have no time for that and don't want to invest in a little bit of homework, sit back, enjoy, let the emotion come across that orchestra pit and just swirl you around and change your life. Mm-hmm. Be open your minds, open your ears, open your heart, and it will change your life.
That's right. I love that, but before we wrap up, what's coming up with the opera? Are there any performances, I know
yes.
there are, or events that you're especially excited about that you want everybody to know?
We're just about to, we haven't gotten the music to the students yet, announce our fall show, and it's a celebration of American opera. It's a scenes program, some short one-acts, some micro-operas, some excerpts from iconic works from the 20th and 21st centuries, a couple of selections from really recent works by living composers, and it's called America on Stage, a semi-quincentennial celebration. Semi-quincentennial is 250. So we're joining the celebration of America's 250th birthday. It's also the 25th anniversary of 9/11, which is not a celebration, but it's a somber anniversary to take note of. So there is lots of important things to be proud of, to honor, to pay tribute to. So we're doing an evening, 2 performances, 3 and 5, I think, Friday and Sunday, October 3 and 5, America on Stage, a semi-quincentennial celebration, a tribute to American music, American opera, American musical theater, and I hope you'll join us.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. Well, Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. I think conversations like this remind us that communities are built on so much more than houses and neighborhoods.
Indeed.
They're built on people and the arts and the experiences that bring us all together. And to everyone listening, if you have never experienced the opera or opera in general, make sure that I think this is a sign.
I hope so.
To give it a try. You might just discover something that you never knew you loved. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Carrie Fitz' Real Estate Podcast. Thanks, Paul.